Where was the Garden of Eden? The Bible says God put a garden eastward in Eden. So where was this beautiful garden? It says in Genesis 2, the river went out of Eden, parted into four heads, and one of them was named Euphrates. And people say, aha, in Baghdad there's a river called Euphrates, so that proves the Garden of Eden was in Baghdad. No. Anybody that studies this can tell you the Garden of Eden was in Pensacola, Florida. I mean, quite obviously. I don't think there's any possible way to know where it was, okay? The flood ruined everything. There's a city called New York, named after York, England. There's a city in Ontario called London, Ontario. I preached there. Guess what it's named after? London, England. When people came over from Europe to the New World, they said, oh, wow, that looks like, the old country. Let's call it the same name. That's all it is. If Noah gets off the ark, they've been floating around for a year. They have no clue where they are. And they see a river. Wow, that reminds me of the river in the Garden of Eden. Let's call that one Euphrates. Okay. You got to pick new names. Say it's a whole new world. You get to pick whatever name you want. Garden of Eden's probably under 500 feet of mud or sand in Pensacola, Florida.
Noah built the ark out of gopher wood, which God selected himself for him to build it out of.
Is this the only place that you know of?
This is the only place on this earth where it has ever grown. It's the most peculiar wood on earth. You can take a piece of it the size of this match when it's green. You can't break it. You can twist it and turn it. It's the lightest wood on earth. I have had its fibers, its structure, its every phase of it chemically analyzed. There's no other wood on earth like it. It's the lightest. And Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torrey State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ararat, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice.
All right, so let's have a civil discussion here. So a lot of this has been going around for a long time. This is a Old Testament map of ancient America. You'll see Egypt, Israel. Yeah, I know, kind of crazy, right? The Egyptian Sea, which is Gulf of America now. But hold on, I got some other stuff for you. Take a look at this, the Grand Canyon on the top, Egypt on the bottom. Man, that's a big similarity there. But also, did you know the Grand Canyon, for some reason, over 90% is not allowed to be explored by any of us? Like, it's cut off from the public. 90%, where Egyptian artifacts have been found in the Grand Canyon. Hold on. Why would I be showing you the Mississippi River? Well, the Bible states that the Nile River has 7 rivers flowing out. But actually, the Nile only has 3 rivers flowing out. The only other river on I believe the earth, is the Mississippi River that has 7 rivers flowing out, feeding all of its territory.
America is the real old world and the Holy Land of the Bible. Watch. Utah is Judah, or Judah. The Dead Sea is Salt Lake. Nile means Great River in Greek. The Mississippi is the Nile, or the Euphrates, the Great River. Since Canaanites inhabited the Holy Land, Sedona is Sidona, which is why Phoenix is Phoenicia. Lebanon and Nevada mean the same things. The real Mount Seir is Mount Whitney in the Sierra Nevadas, which is the tallest point in the lower 48. Exodus took place in America. The Baja Sea is the real Red Sea, which looked like this. The greatest of the 7 seas is the Pacific Ocean. That's why the real Levant is the Pacific West Coast of America. That's why the largest cedars are in the Pacific Northwest, which makes sense for the lumber needed to build Solomon's temple. Perfect trunks for lumber. The tiny ones in fake Lebanon are forked. They can't be used for lumber as efficiently. The Nile of the fake Egypt today doesn't match the description in Isaiah, but the Mississippi does with its 7 main tributaries. The Nile flows into the Egyptian Sea, not the Great Sea. That is why the Mediterranean cannot be the biblical Great Sea. Hebrew artifacts were found throughout the country. They are commonly discounted as fake, but nobody today speaks Paleo-Hebrew. As stated before, Canaanites were throughout the Holy Land, and we see a common Canaanite root through all these alphabets or aleph-bets. This is why Spanish, Latin, Hebrew, and Arabic all have similar roots. Hard to tell apart in cursive. Speaks for itself. Allah, Tau, and Om, all the same geometric shapes. Perspective. Latin is inverted Arabic, more apparent in cursive. Same roots. Babylon, Rome, and Greece are east of the Mississippi. That's the real reason the Algonquin chiefs were named after Greeks. They were the Greeks. After most of the men were killed in King Philip's War, the children became prisoners of war, aka slaves that were shipped throughout the Americas. When the Jesuits met the Algonquins, they realized that the Mi'kmaq language was similar to Egyptian or Hebraic. That's why Verrazano said that the natives were like Ethiopians. The oldest bloodline, A00, is from America. The history has been totally inverted. Parasites copy and invert through retrotransposition. This is why you have multiple Egypts and all these cities with the same names throughout the world. Parasites usurp, copy, and invert. Parasites live in loops, and they keep the host in a loop. Parasites need inversion, manipulation, and inbreeding to exist. The Bible is the script, or the scripture, of the loop. It reveals all the events in the timeline of the loop.
Check this out. The Americas is Grenada, Israel, the Promised Land. All of these are biblical place names in Utah, including Jerusalem. Utah's nickname is the Beehive State. There is a mountain in eastern Nevada named Mount Moriah, and it is over 12,000 feet high. In Utah, not only is there a River Jordan, but it runs out of a freshwater lake into the Great Salt Lake, which is remarkably like the Dead Sea. There is also a Mount Nebo in Utah, approximately 12,000 feet high. So yes, with evidence this strong, the real Judah was in Utah. People try to say that it was the Mormons that gave these places like Utah biblical names to support their position as Jews. However, this explanation fails miserably because there are no 12,000 feet high mountains in modern day Israel. Therefore, the real Judah or Israel had to be in Utah because it fits the description of the kingdom of Judah perfectly. The name Utah is derived from the name of the Ute tribe. It means the people of the mountains in the Ute language. According to other sources, Utah is derived from the Apache name Yuda, which means tall. In the so-called Spanish language, it was said as Utah. Subsequently, the English-speaking people adapted the word Utah. There is no J in Hebrew, therefore Judah is Yuda, especially when you consider the fact that the J
at the Red Sea. And then in Tennessee, they telling us, remember, they have to tell you the truth. So check this out. This is 2,300 years. How could all this be 323 he died, 1,323 King Titi, 323 2000. That was so they remember what they doing with all them.
So I really like don't even know where to start from. Okay, let me just say, hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So all right, okay, so before we go any further, let me just say this very clear. This video is for entertainment purposes only. We are just diving into, theories, opinions, and things people have been saying online. None of this is confirmed fact, okay? Like I'm saying that. I'm simply reacting to what's been circulating online out there. So please take everything with a grain of salt. Okay, let's get into it. So there's been this growing conversation online where people are starting to connect certain locations in the United States to be, biblical lands. Yes, you heard that right. According to some historians, independent researchers, and even everyday observers, certain parts of America are being compared to places we've only ever read about in the Bible. And one of the most talked about locations is the Grand Canyon. Now this is one interesting. This one, the Grand Canyon. It's very interesting because, like for years, there've been talks. Some say even early explorers believed the area had biblical significance. Okay, there even claims that certain cave systems within the canyon were once sealed off after alleged discoveries of ancient artifacts that didn't quite fit mainstream history. Now again, allegedly, then we move over to Utah. Utah has been described by some people as a biblical, like the Bible land because of its unique rock formations, ancient markings, and landmarks, that people say resemble places described in scripture. Some individuals believe that these formations are not just natural, but hold a deeper meaning tied to ancient civilizations. And then there's Tennessee. This one doesn't get talked about as much, but there are those who believe that certain lands in Tennessee carry spiritual or historical significance that hasn't been fully explored or explained. Now, here's where things get even more controversial, okay? There have been claims, again, according to conspiracy theories, that large human skeletons were discovered in Virginia. Some say these skeletons were much bigger than the average human size, sparkling debates about the existence of giants, something that is mentioned in biblical texts. Okay, but here's the thing. Mainstream archaeology has never officially confirmed these findings. In fact, many of these stories have been dismissed as myths, exaggeration, or misinterpretations of those historical discoveries. Still, people asking questions, okay? Why do these stories keep resurfacing? Why do so many locations in America get tied back to biblical narratives? And could be the piece of history that we simply don't fully understand yet. Those are the questions that are being asked online. And again, I'm not here to prove anything, okay? I'm just laying out what people are saying, and that's what's being discussed here, so that we can talk about it with you, my audience, okay? I haven't confirmed anything that this could be true. We are just talking about this, okay? So let's just watch some more clips, and then I'll come back at the end of this video to give my own final 2 cents. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let's watch.
323, that's virtually impossible in all them kings of Memphis. 1,000 added here, 300 added here, and 1,000 added here. You get Daniel prophecy, 2,300 equals out to 2,300 exactly. Moses, 1,300 when he was around. Anakton was around in the 1,300s. Same thing. All of these people was around around the same time. So look, Anakton, 1,353. All right, Moses, 1,300. It was a big destiny swap, y'all. That's all it was a destiny swap. They took the Pharaoh's lies and made up a lot of characters and gave it back to us in Christianity. And Christianity spelled backwards makes it sound narcissist. What do narcissists want to do? Destiny swap with you. 10 in the sea. 10 commandments, baby.
What if Utah is Judah? Salt Lake City is the true location of Jerusalem, and Yellowstone Park is the original location of the Garden of Eden. This world is a wacky and wild place, my friends. If you're new here, you know that myself and a few others have been doing research that is showing that it is highly probable that the Bible actually took place in America. There's a lot to this, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, I encourage you to go look at my playlist and also check out the link in my bio that goes to my Google Earth map, where I have all the biblical locations in America that I know of so far pinned, and there's information on some of those pins too if you want to dig in a little bit deeper. But every Monday I like to do a Q&A and answer as many of your questions as I can. So if you have any questions on the topic of biblical lands in America, drop them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to do a video reply over the next day or so, depending on how busy it gets around here. Hope you're all having a lovely Monday, and I look forward to hearing your questions.
This is every biblical giant discovery in America. In 1883, a team from the Smithsonian uncovered a large skeleton in West Virginia. Apparently, it measured at 7 foot 6 inches, with 19 inches across the shoulders. It also apparently had a double row of teeth. The skeleton was also found to have copper armor, suggesting that it was possibly a king. It's also interesting because around the same time in Pennsylvania, a collection of horned giants were found. While excavating a burial mound, a group of scientists uncovered 68 skeletons. While the bodies were roughly 7 foot tall, they also had horns going from the top of them. The remains were reportedly sent to the American Investigating Museum in Philadelphia, where they then reported that the bones were stolen, and they haven't been seen since. In 1911, red-haired giants were discovered in Nevada. They were covered under layers of bat droppings, and while they were skeptical, the local Indians had this legend of 8 foot tall giants that ate humans. The tribes had many stories saying that the only way to eliminate these giants was to trap them in the caves and burn them alive. And so miners found several skeletons over 7 foot tall. And today, a giant skull and 15-foot long sandals can still be found in museums in Nevada. And Ohio, of course, in the 1930s, another giant was discovered. During a bridge building project, workers cut into this mound and found a giant skeleton. The report claimed that a modern man could slip over the skeleton over his head like a helmet. The lower jawbone was said to be so large it could easily fit over someone's mouth. What do you think about these?
So as we come to the end of this video, I just want to remind you one more time that this entire discussion is for entertainment purposes only. Everything we've talked about today is based on theories, online conversations, personal interpretations, and in some cases controversial claims that have not been proven by mainstream historians or archaeologists. But let's be honest for a second again. Isn't it interesting how certain places in America continue to spark these kinds of conversations? I mean, when you look at locations like the Grand Canyon with its vast, mysterious landscape, it's not hard to see why people's imagination started running wild. Okay, the sheer size, the hidden caves, the unexplored areas. It almost feels like there are stories buried deep within that we may never fully uncover intentionally. Okay, like they don't want to know us to know about this. Then you have places like Utah where the terrain alone looks like something out of an ancient world. The rock formation, the silence, the untouched beauty, it creates an atmosphere that makes people wonder if there's more to the land than what meets the eye. And let's not forget Tennessee, a place that, while not as widely discussed, still finds itself in this conversation about hidden history and possible biblical connections. Whether it's based on local legends, spiritual beliefs, or historical curiosity, it adds another layer to the bigger picture. But perhaps one of the most talked about and controversial topics is the idea of giant skeletons allegedly discovered in Virginia. This is where things really start to blur the line between history and speculation. Stories like these have been circulating for years, often tied to ancient texts and biblical references to giants. Okay, now whether you believe these claims or not, one thing is very clear: people are still looking for answers, searching for answers. There's something about the idea that history might not be exactly what we were taught that keeps people curious. It opens the door to questions like, what if there are discoveries that were misunderstood? What if some findings didn't fit into the narrative we know today? Or what if in some cases people are simply connecting pieces, puzzles, dots that were never meant to be connected? And that's where critical, using your brain comes in. Okay, it's important to explore ideas, to question things, and to stay curious, but at the same time it's just as important to separate fact from speculation. Not everything we see online is backed by evidence, and not every theory holds truth. That doesn't mean the conversation isn't worth having, because sometimes these types of talks say more about us than they do about history itself. They show our desire to understand where we come from. They reflect our curiosity about the unknown. And in some cases, they reveal how powerful storytelling can be. At the end of the day, whether America is connected to biblical lands or not remains a topic of debate, interpretation, and belief. Some people look at these places and see nothing more than natural landscapes shaped by time. Others will look at the exact same place and see something deeper, something spiritual, historical, or even mysterious. And maybe, just maybe, the truth lies somewhere in between. So, excuse me, as you leave this video, I want you to take everything you've heard today with an open mind, okay, but also with a healthy level of skepticism. Do your own research, ask questions, look into different perspectives, because understanding comes from exploring, not just accepting everything at face value. And most importantly, remember why we have conversations like this in the first place: not to mislead, not to confuse, but to explore ideas, spark curiosity, because sometimes the journey of asking questions is just as powerful as finding the answers. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more content like this, where we explore theories, uncover mysteries, and dive into conversations that make you think twice. Okay, until next time, I'll see you in my next video. Please stay peaceful.